Hey everyone, it's Byron again, here to testify for Jesus Christ. I want to go over a dream real quick. May not have that much to do with a lot of people, but I think that it does, and I want to just share it with you because it is a dream that means a lot to me with respect to the God's army and God's plans for the future. Last night I dreamed my wife and I had checked into a hotel room, and we were by ourselves initially. Then suddenly the room started filling with many military people. We were also military people um, in uniform. And I began to look around the room at different insignia, recognizing the officers in the room. And I didn't recognize anybody in the whole dream, specifically the officers. And I tried to avoid noticeable eye contact. I would look at this one guy until I saw he was looking back toward me. Then I would shift my eyes, just trying to check out the different officers in the room. Is basically how I was doing it. And then at one point, the room, somebody made an announcement that the enlisted persons need to go to another location, and then it was just officers. I remained in the room. And I had began to pack my rucksack. That's the backpack for the military. And as I was packing it, I noticed it had sand in it from previous operations. I was left there with the officers. I don't know what rank I had or anything like that. But the last scene of the movie, the dream, it was myself and perhaps five other officers, men and women. And we were actually, me and another lady were assisting another lady. We were carrying her as if for some reason she wasn't able to walk in the physical sense of the term. And then I considered, well, now we have men and women together, and we've got to share restrooms, and we got to work that out. And then I woke up. That in and of itself doesn't have that much meaning. However, it does have meaning when I consider other things that I've been shown. Um, One thing I left out is at one point in time, I identified four black men in the room, and I thought mentally, if I had those guys on my team, I would have a really good team. That was just part in when the whole group was in the build. The room. Um, but that dream may not mean that much in and of itself. But when I began to put pieces together, I start realizing it has a huge uh, meaning to me. First and foremost is one time I had a dream, um, and I literally thought that I woke up in Iraq. I was looking around. The land was barren. I saw a hilltop. On top of the hilltop, I saw a U.S. flag go up, and there were soldiers up on the hilltop. My wife, myself, and one of my sons had been down inside this pit dug in the earth, but I literally thought I was in Iraq. Later, I realized it was Babylon, the destruction of Babylon, and I was literally in the United States, but Babylon had been destroyed, and the place looked like a wasteland. But after the destruction, I saw U.S. soldiers with a flag up on that hilltop, and they ran down to me and distributed ammunition. Um, Down in the valley to the opposite direction of that hilltop, down further in the valley, I saw people coming out from behind trees and they were waving their flag. Sometimes I think, well, the Lord's going to spare people through this destruction in the United States. And I think, I've said several times, Jeremiah 51:50 shows that ye that escape the sword, stand not still, consider the Lord afar off, and let Jerusalem come to your mind, some words to that effect. That's one thing I think about that could be linked to this dream. Um, Going into a hotel room, packing bags, um, making preparation, segregating the different organization of how things are going. That could be going on right now, and we could literally be part of that and not even realize that's occurring. And I think that could be the case. And then last night, I was in a conference call type Bible study with some folks, and the topic of David's mighty men came up. And when you say mighty, you suddenly think, well, These were great and awesome men, and they were after a certain point. But before that point, David was in caves with outcasts. They were. It's like kind of like Robin Hood in Sherwood Forest. The people that were with David were misfits. They didn't strike the world as great and awesome people, but they became great and awesome people. And I thought of the verse this morning: "Those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength and mount up with wings of eagles." So I think all those can, in my little head, my big head, depends on your perspective of the screen. But that's showing me the Lord is assembling an army, and He's structuring how He deems necessary. And I think the sand in the rucksack also designates experience. I wasn't packing a brand new bag for the first time use in that dream. I was packing a bag that showed signs of having experience. And you can go to Romans 5, and you can see tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope, and hope maketh not ashamed, for the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts. Man, we as a group of God's army, we're shaped by tribulation, and that brings experience. And then, the tribulation that David experienced in his time, I think David was anointed king of Israel at a young age, and I believe it was 20 years before he was king. Saul was the king before David. And David did not himself eliminate Saul. He had many opportunities to do that. David waited patiently and did that. And those of us now may be waiting patiently also, which brings me to another point of the manifestation of the sons of God. Scriptures tell us that creation groaneth, or all the creatures groan, waiting for the manifestations of the sons of God. In the times of the creation of the world, and Adam and Eve sinned, there were curses placed on the creature. And I had a dream recently where dolphins were crying out. They were just being caught out of the ocean and just dumped into a ship. And they were crying, and I equated that to that. So this dream to me also can be showing the preparation for the manifestation of the sons of God. And I personally think that is when Jesus Christ returns, and there's a resurrection, and those that are alive and remain are caught up together to be with Him, and that's the manifestation. But I've had some discussions with some people recently. They think it actually can occur before that time, and of the God's final army, the manifestation of the sons of God. And anyway, don't want to get too far down the road here in this video and not stop it. But that's not just, I mentioned the dream that I had last night, and then another dream that I linked to. That's not the only ones. I mean, there's other ones that I've had that are representative of an army, and the army being in preparation, and it's coming. It is coming. Whether it be manifested prior to the destruction of the United States, which I think it will be, but definitely after, when there's God's army is here, experiencing what was known in Jeremiah 51:50. So be encouraged. God is in control. We don't understand. This little dream I had last night is a small piece of a huge, huge picture. And we try to fit it into its spot. So thanks, and be strong in the Lord.